souls, transforming worlds to a better wonder to behold. No poverty, zero hunger for the elderly or younger. Good health and well-being, good education, empowering women to become sensation. Clean water, sanitation is a right of every nation. Economic growth inclusive and sustained through industry, innovation, and purely dedication. Yeah, infrastructure be gained. Reduce inequality for sure. Make human settlements secure. Take urgent actions to combat climate change. Conserve life below water and land. Ensure we do not estrange. Justice for all, a peaceful and empathetic nations. Let us all partner to achieve these goals and provide much needed salvation. Each one teach 10, no compensation. Each one teach 10, no compensation.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. Good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, kerimed, terve, and maravan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 95 of the podcast Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Well, for today, my guest is Mr. Ben Bolger. After a career as a professional athlete, Ben has spent the last decade working in the wealth management sector, supporting hundreds of individuals, families, and businessmen with their financial planning needs. Alongside his corporate career, he's also an accredited trainer of the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments and conducts seminars and technical training to the most promising financial planners in the UK. He's also seen how basic financial literacy concepts are misunderstood by adults and therefore is very passionate about changing the lives of the next generation through financial education. And he holds an Executive MBA, is a certified financial planner and chartered wealth manager. It's my absolute honor to have you here, Ben. So how are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Doing great, thank you.
That's amazing. Right. So before we begin, how's the weather around you and how have you been doing today?
Yeah, good. So I'm based in Abu Dhabi. So originally from London, I'm based out in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi and have been for the last coming up to 12 years now. So it's a bit of a blink of an eye, and 12 years have gone past. But really enjoy the UAE. The weather's starting to turn, so we're sort of entering winter, which means the weather is beautiful for between now and March. Probably the weather's lovely. So all good things to come.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, as you all know, Ben is the co founder and CEO of Squirrel Education. So, I would love to ask you what inspired you to co found Squirrel Education and how did you identify the need for financial literacy among your students?
Well, as you sort of mentioned in the intro, I've been sort of working in the international financial planning space for a long time, for well over a decade, and work with people from all over the world, and seen the same issues, excuse me, coming up time after time. And in terms of actually start looking at and co-founding Squirrel, was actually introduced to my co-founder Matthew, who is an international teacher, so 25 years in education, and his last post was a school here, a good school here in Abu Dhabi, and we basically got introduced by a mutual friend who'd sort of seen that I'd done some writing for and contribution to the national press here in the personal finance section, and they was like that you two should really get together and have a chat. And basically Matt had this idea that it was sort of born out of his classroom, a very sort of manual banking program that he'd used to really draw engagement in his classroom and increase financial literacy dialogue in his classroom. And we just hit it off. I mean, we went for a 20-minute coffee that lasted about 4 hours because we just really sort of hit it off and really sort of synergized on so many things, and had that deep passion for education, obviously, and then financial literacy, understanding that like it's one of those topics that affects every single child that goes through our education system, no matter where you are on the planet. Every child is going to have a relationship with money, yet we do very little to prepare the children for that and their journey into the real world. So we recognized that, and we said, well, how can we take your manual banking program and put that into a digital context so that we can help as many children as possible, but also have try to reduce any impact on schools and teachers, right? They're not set up properly yet to support financial literacy. So how can we do that with as minimal impact on the school, but try and reach as many children as possible? So that was the early start of and the origin and story of Squirrel. And yeah, I mean, it's in the last 22 months since we've been live, we've grown pretty quickly.
Indeed, that is, I must say, really inspirational. And, listening to you talking about that, you've been working over a decade in the financial space. And I've been like, I think during that time you noticed people projecting recurring financial issues. And you worked with your co-founder, Matthew, and your mutual friend introduced to what exactly, is the need for financial literacy. And then you immediately knew that you both should work out together in this. So you co-founded Squirrel Education with the goal of introducing financial literacy to young students like us. And I think your passion about education and that belief that every child needs to understand financial concepts in order to navigate the real world is very relevant and very persistent, I must say. And as though you're also working on, giving them examples like how they can shift from manual banking to digital platforms. And of course, at the same time, making sure that you're reducing the pressure over teachers and the schools, since they're, in the initial stages, they might be exploring, and that adds an additional pressure to them that they have to work upon financial literacy in the curriculum. But you're just helping students learn directly and not involving much of the teachers and schools into it. So again, your main goal, like you said, is to reach as many children as possible, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Right. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
No, I mean, we're very passionate about what we do. Look, I think that, like I said, that we recognise the challenges schools face. I think that I've grown a huge sense of empathy for schools. So I've as you can imagine. So I left school at 18, and then went off to university for a few years, but didn't end up going back to a typical school for years. Now I've spent the last 2 years pretty much in a new school every single day, right? But I really do. I've really built this sort of strong sense of empathy for schools because they want to push and drive and change education. However, they work on the same amount of hours that we all do, right? And there's only so many hours in a week to deliver what they need to get through to children. And any new agenda or topic that the world finds important, it just gets thrown at the schools. It's like, we have to be doing this in schools. Why are we not doing it in schools? And whether that's financial literacy, whether that's the UN SDGs, or climate change, or crypto, AI now, and stuff like that. So, like I said, I think schools really do want to, especially the schools that are using our platform. We can tell that they really do want to advance and push and change education. I think the more like external providers like us can help drive that. I think that will help because they are under a lot of pressure to try and give holistic education, but then still get as many children through to the next level of their education as possible. And obviously, when push comes to shove, like it's the core subjects typically are the ones that get children off to university, right? So So, like I said, if we can all play our part to deliver or help deliver that holistic education for children, obviously our passion and priority is financial literacy, but there's obviously a lot of other stuff that the children need to understand. But it's I think that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that the more that everyone can play a part in help driving, in our case, financial literacy, the better.
Absolutely. So I'm really intrigued to ask you. So how does Squirrel education differentiate itself from the other financial literacy platforms? Since there have been a lot of them growing now. So what is the X factor?
Well, I think, look, one of the biggest things that we noticed, when look, we don't believe there's enough financial literacy education out there, full stop. Okay, so like there's not enough people doing enough stuff in financial literacy education. However, the stuff that is predominantly out there is very still knowledge consumption heavy. So it's like, head over to this website or read this blog article, or someone like myself will come in and do like a 45-minute talk to students and like just give knowledge. But having been in industry, and we've worked with individuals and like with their financial planning, one of the biggest things that I notice and I stand by is that what separates people who are good with money and what separates people who maybe struggle with it is so much more to do with their habits and behaviors than it necessarily is to do with just knowing what to do. We liken financial literacy so much to living a healthy lifestyle. So you can't just give children videos or like websites and about eating a balanced diet and exercising more, and think that they're then gonna stop going to McDonald's after school or playing 10 hours Call of Duty before bed, right? Like, we have to put them in an environment that that allows them to practice the habits and behaviors that we want to see in those children. So that was the whole ethos of Squirrel, right? So Squirrel essentially is a virtual classroom economy for students, where children get the opportunity to practice what they're going to face out in the real world. So by integrating into the schools through a schools rewards program, we essentially allow children, or give the children, the opportunity to earn a virtual salary, pay regular utility bills. They have to move money between current accounts, savings accounts, emergency funds. They have to deal with emergency expenses. They've got budget things in the marketplace. And we obviously, as we build this out, we want them to be able to invest on investment platforms, buy property, start businesses, borrow from the bank, transact in different currencies. Like I said, like Squirrel, we're building Squirrel, which is a safe environment for children to learn, probably fail as well, but a safe environment to fail, learn from their mistakes, and then build on those mistakes. But also just a complete and utter dedication to helping children build habits and behaviors last. Knowledge consumption, or just having the right knowledge, requires like your motivation to then put that knowledge into action. We want to build discipline. Discipline is and habits and behaviors stick, right? So when children go out into the real world, they've got these habits and behaviors so that they don't even need to have to think. It's just part of who they are. So when they get paid, they move some of the money to their savings account, or they prepare for emergency expenses in an emergency fund. They move money into an investment platform. They know what to do. They don't get stressed about market corrections because they've been and done it in our environment. And that's where we think we differ from a lot of platforms out there. We're very much experiential learning and a huge focus on habits and behaviors.
Indeed, I totally relate to that. Experiential learning is the most important thing. Like, like you said, unlike other platforms that focus heavily on knowledge consumption through lectures or long videos, Squirrel education emphasizes on the habits and behavior. And it's not just about, watching the videos, but about putting the students in an environment where they can practice managing their money. And like you said, in Squirrel's virtual classroom, students actively engage in financial literacy, managing their money, and of course, making decisions in a safe environment where they can fail and learn through their actions. And this, I think, approach is, of course, allowing hands-on learning, making experience more impactful for students.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and it's just also so much more engaging for students, right? They have fun doing rather than just listening and consuming.
I'm curious, like, how is it like Squirrel education? So how does the word Squirrel come?
Do you know what? We get asked that all the time. I think firstly, and I'm not going to steal Matt's thunder. It was definitely Matt's idea, and he can take the credit for it. But Squirrel, obviously being for the youth, is obviously like a name that people remember, and the fact that we get asked all the time why Squirrel Education is probably a sign that works. But the second thing is, especially in the UK, growing up, we always used to have a saying, and especially the older generation would always, like, when you go to a family party, they'd make like one of your grandparents maybe slip you a little bit of money and go, make sure you squirrel that away for a rainy day. The same way squirrels like will like sort of harvest nuts for the winter and stuff like that. It's that sort of connotation, but between make sure you sort of you save this for a rainy day, and so there's that monetary connotation to the name as well, which I think fits quite nicely.
That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Right. So my next question for you is, how do you make financial literacy fun and engaging for students? Like, I know you mentioned about how it's a virtual environment where students can perform, the activities, but what's the inner aspect of it, and that does not leave the subject, often complex or dry for them.
Well, I think children, like I think what we said earlier, like children doing and in a sense doing what they see their parents do on a weekly basis, right? We're trying to get our platform eventually as close to replicating what their parents do, and so when they see that, so they feel like they have their own financial circumstances, right? And it's engaging, and the more we can make that sort of real life and tangible for those children, the more efficacy our platform will have, and we're already sort of seeing that, and children really do engage with what we're doing because like they've got this sense of responsibility for the first time. It's the first time they've earned a sort of like a virtual salary. They feel ownership of the bills that they've got to pay, but also the way that we embed it into the school so that they're like, we reward children within the platform. For the ones that I think what's different as well, like there really is a focus on not rewarding children who necessarily just have the most money. So our platform isn't about who has the most money. It's the ones who are doing what's asked of them that's going to lead to that behavioral formation. So children who are paying their bills on time, children who are getting paid and moving their money to savings accounts, and children who are paying for emergencies from money set aside in emergency. The system is giving them points all the time. So we are rewarding those children for doing the habits that are going to then build to that behavioral formation. So then obviously those points are going to an in-class leaderboard. Then we've got like an inter-class leaderboard. So if you've got multiple classes per year group, then you're competing against all the other classes. And then we also have a way that your class can also compete against the system as well. So there's 3 different sort of levels of competition. And then often schools use our platform to reward children sort of off the platform. So there'll be a class of the week, a Squirrel class of the week, or there'll be like student of the month and stuff like that. So also schools take the opportunity to bring engagement off the platform, which obviously then drives engagement back on our platform, which has worked really well.
That is really substantial. I think making financial literacy engaging for students by allowing them to mirror what they see their parents do in real life is, I think, what catches the eye. And like you said, the platform creates a simulated financial world where kids feel like they have their own financial responsibilities. They're grown up, they're earning, paying, and managing the expenses. And of course, like you said, giving them the rewards, not for seeing who has the maximum points or maximum money, but who is behaving the right way, like paying on time or handling emergencies, and basically learning the right financial habits. And it's going to turn the fun experience into a practical experience, and then helping them to learn through action, which is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Right. So I want to know, like, in your experience as a financial planner, what are the most common financial mistakes people make, and how can, early education prevent them from doing so?
I think first of all, I think one of the biggest things that I want to change is that financial or taking control of your finances is purely for people who are good with money or an analytical brain, or people who are in a banking and finance role, or have a technological sort of, or an analytical mind. Like, I think that a lot of what I want to do is break down that sort of stigma, that you have to be a certain character to take control of your own finances, and in a sense you can give yourself a bit of an excuse if you don't have that typical background. And I think that's one of the first things that I think when I go in and talk to, especially school leavers, right? Like, you're embarking, you're about to go off to university and start that journey and enter in the real world. Like, it's up to you to now do this, and you don't have an excuse anymore. There's all the information. You've got the internet. Like, generations before, maybe information was guarded, right? But now information is freely available, and it's all out there for you. So you have the ability, and you don't really have an excuse that previous generations have gone past. So the first one is everyone can take control of their own finances, whether that's from just making sure that they control their own budget through to investing regularly on an investment platform. The other typical mistakes is, obviously, as you can imagine, is typical sort of overspending, irrational spending, living for today as opposed to actually thinking and planning more. I think I'm absolutely not someone who would advise or push for someone to just turn into sort of like a bit of a hermit and save and not live for today. It's important to get that balance. So making sure that people are actively thinking about what the short, medium, and long term looks like. Third one would probably be people not really understanding the implications of short term debt, and the sort of the dangerous sort of cycle that can create if you don't stay on top of that. I'm not saying that all debt is to be avoided, but that sort of short term debt on or that personal sort of debt for often for things that we don't typically need, or we could really save up for. That people, a lot of time, people don't understand the implications of what that looks like, and how a decision to run up your credit card on a holiday that you can't really afford can leave you really struggling each month to pay that back. And then by not paying that back, what does that look like? So sort of, in a sense, that sort of mindless thinking can lead to 12 months of hurt, or 24 months of hurt, right? So there's that. And then the last one is that real nervousness around investing, the concern that investing is basically like going into the casino, and by investing your money, like, it really is a lottery whether you're ever going to see it again. And that's absolutely not the case. The stock market is one of the biggest and has been one of the most powerful wealth generation tools ever. So by understanding how that works, by understanding what type of tools are available and how to access that, and now very, very relatively cheaply, I think that having that information, and trying to get that information out to people, can change a lot of perception, and hopefully inspire people to build wealth rather than just sort of saving money under a mattress.
True. I think, like you said, a common mistake is the lack of financial control, but it's not limited to, only people who have a technological mindset, but because the information is freely available now, that enables everyone to manage their finances. And the issue often lies in irrational spending and the inability to balance and spend effectively. So the equilibrium is required. And if people are not understanding the implications of long-term or short-term debt, or such as running up their credit cards without having means to pay them off. Additionally, like you said, a significant fear around investing. I think early financial education can prevent these mistakes by teaching young people and everybody the importance of financial equilibrium, debt management, or building up the confidence in making more informed investment decisions. And I can relate to the one you just talked about, stock market. So our school always makes us take part in the Wharton investment competition that happens yearly. And even I've taken part in that like for 4 years now. So like I learned a lot about the stock market and how do we have to invest and what is the importance of long-term investing and short-term investing. And it's not about just being scared that you lose all your money, but being more practical and mindful that where to invest, how much to invest, and which one gets you the most dividend. So I think it's again you learn when you do, and learning by doing. Rightly said as
Abs-
one of the comments in the chat.
yeah, absolutely. I think that the earlier we can get this in, a lot of people's concerns and behaviors also stem from what they hear and see. Whereas if we can grab students early, they haven't got these preconceived ideas. They don't necessarily feel the nervousness around the stock market or whatever the adults have felt because of what they've seen and what they've heard and what people have told them, right? So if we can, before students have made their own mind up of what the world looks like, if we can get the right information and the right messaging out to them, they go out into the world not really stressing about a lot of the stuff that the adults have worried about for generation after generation.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. All right, so I have a fun question to ask you. Well, what is your favorite childhood memory and why?
um do you know what, like, growing up as a child, all I ever wanted to do was be a professional rugby player. That was literally my. I went to sleep with a rugby ball. Like, any opportunity, me and my brother out in the garden, like we were knocking lumps out of each other, kicking the ball. Like, literally, like any opportunity, so. Um, I had lots of amazing memories playing rugby. I'd say I can remember when so my local junior team, when we were younger, we were a bit like the Mighty Ducks. We weren't very good, right? For up to about 10, 11 years old, like we would get beat all the time. And then we managed to win this like local competition when we were like 11. And then I can remember how like because all of that team are still some of my best mates today. Like, we were very, very close, and we won that first sort of local competition, and then something clicked for us, and then we were just like county champions, and we just became the best team in our area and stuff like that. So I can remember that feeling going into school as like all of us schoolmates after we won that first competition, thinking we were the bee's knees, after being so terrible at rugby for so long. We won this competition, and then something happens, and we clicked, and we were very good after that. But yeah, I think that was one of my. I remember the competition, Barking Festival, when we were under 11s.
That's amazing. Reminds me of like the first time I ever took part in any technological competition, like it's a national level. So in grade four, like I came in the top 10 and we were invited like in Mumbai. It's a city in India,
Wow.
in Maharashtra. So like I was there in the top 10, but I didn't win. And I'm like, okay, maybe I come back next year and I'll be there as, the winner of the competition. So I worked hard and enhanced my skills, and I got like they were like basically a platform you have to do a lot about different computer softwares and ICT tools, and you have to do practicals and solve different problems and the quizzes, and the maximum points you have in the end of the year, the top 10, is taken to the final level. And the next year I was back and I became the winner. So like it just reminded me of the fact that if you have self belief and if you push hard and you work hard to the utmost level, then you can do literally anything that you want. So yeah, like I won my first ever like achievement for the computer competition on ICT tools. So it just helped me to learn more about different skills that I could explore.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And like it was this one, I still have it here.
You've got the
right
proof. You got the proof.
yeah, it's like Wiz Googler 2018. So just keep me pushing forward whenever I think about like how I started. That's the one.
No, brilliant.
Right. Okay, thank you. We have lots of comments coming in the chat. Well, let's go through them. We have Citizen Cancun, hashtag H1 Teach 10 greetings from Ghana. Thank you so much. There is Mr. Prableen Singh. Hi, Namya the Great. Hello, Ben. Good to see you both.
Hey.
Such a realistic vision, Ben. Amazing initiative. Safeguarding financial side through well-learned financial literacy is definitely the need of the hour. I second your thoughts of providing holistic education to students in order to make them aware. There's a question by Miss Monica Joshi. Can students join your platform independently?
Unfortunately, at the moment, it's a 4 schools platform, so we work directly with schools. At the moment, our platform is probably most suited to children probably around 7 to 11, 12 years old. We absolutely do have a vision to build this out from children from as long as sort of 5 years old all the way through to 18 and maybe even up into university age. We're just organically, I think we'd made a decision to go in at the bottom. Most financial literacy programs focus just on the kids just about to go off into university, whereas what we thought we would do was build and then organically have our cohorts growing with us. So we do have lots of, my Google Drive is absolutely stacked with ideas in terms of how we're going to build it out so that children from 5 to all the way through to 18 are going to really enjoy what we're doing. But I'd say at the moment it's probably 7 to 11, 12-year-olds is where the sweet spot is. But I mean, if you are 7 to 11 and you're watching this and you want your school to use it, please do reach out and we can integrate that into your school.
Thank you for sharing. Well, learning by doing approach will surely be fun in getting financial awareness. And we have a question as well. How does Squirrel education modify the students' attributes with regard to value of money and its proper utilization in digital financial space?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good point in the minute. We want to build out. I mean, in terms of value of money, I think the question revolves around how children respect the value of money and understand not to or respect it so that they're not just irrationally spending. And that's the reason why we've rewarding children within our system for those who are doing the right behaviors, the ones who go out and sort of irrationally spend in our platform, because there is opportunity to do that. They get less of a reward. They're like less incentivized. So there's that. And then within everything that we're doing is digital. So we understand that the platform is going to try and replicate what we face every day. I mean, I was probably the last generation where I was going to schools probably with cash in my pocket and paying with stuff cash. Now I'd never ever carry cash, right? It's just a tap on your phone or your card or whatever. So I think there's no point because I mean there's still sort of like there's still professionals out there saying, all right, get your money and put it in envelopes and stuff like that. And then like 3 different envelopes. You have your saving one, your spending one, and your giving one or whatever. But like in reality, that's not that's pulling people away from the way the world's going. So let's try and let's teach children how to live in the world that they're going into, rather than trying to drag them out and pull them back to the old days. So so just to reiterate on what we were saying, we incentivize, and the game mechanics is all about children who are respecting money and are prioritizing and intentional about their spending and their decision making in the platform. That's what actually drives a child to win in our game and our system. And like to answer the second part of your question, everything is digital. So children are really understanding or living in that digital virtual world. So they're prepared to go out into the real world.
Thank you. Amazing. There's the one. So hello Namya, hello Ben. Thank you for bringing the podcast. My favorite childhood memory is on during electricity failure at night, playing hide and seek till our mom finds where we are. I haven't done that though.
Sounds fun.
Yep. Mr. Ben, I'm like a noob when it comes to stock market. Where do you think I can start my journey to understand the importance of finances and stock market?
There's a couple of books that I would recommend for sure. Morgan Housel, Psychology of Money. I think that's a really good starting point to understand money, understand how we're geared up to how intrinsically we react around money and the biases that we have. And like I think when you read it in a book, it becomes real because you can relate to some of the stuff that's in the book. Morgan Housel, Psychology of Money. And there's another book, it's J.L. Collins, but I want to say it's like The Simple Path to Wealth, and that will give the beginner a really good understanding of investing and using things like index funds. I don't know whether your listeners have ever come across like index funds and ETFs, but they are the easiest way to invest consistently, sort of your sleep at night sort of way of getting access to the world's biggest companies and the equity. So those two books would be my sort of recommendation to any new investors looking to understand more about how to invest sensibly.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for all the lovely comments and questions in the chat. Right. So, to sum up today's discussion, I would love to ask you that how do you envision the future of financial education evolving, particularly with the rise of digital platforms and technology?
Look, I do think we need to see a shift from education councils, from governments to say like this is really important. I think we are seeing it. I think half of the states in the US have mandated financial literacy, a financial literacy course upon a graduation. The UK are revising how financial literacy is taught across their curriculum. Here in the UAE, I know they're very active, or I'm part of the conversations, I have been part of the conversations about how we're going to implement financial literacy across the country. So I think that it's a top-down thing that needs to happen. I think that until schools are pressurized or told they need to deliver this, I think that if it's that mass adoption is going to be difficult, but I don't think we're far off. And then I think it's upon, like I said, external providers like myself and other ed tech companies to come up with some really cool solutions to help prepare students. Like creating textbooks isn't gonna build habits and behaviors. Giving someone a textbook about financial literacy isn't gonna ensure that child goes on to live or goes on to financial independence. I want to create. I mean, I don't know if any of your listeners have watched that Michael Jordan documentary, but do you know his coach? I think his name's Tim Grover, but he talks about Michael practiced so hard so that when he was out on the court, he never had to think. Right, he just got into the position and he'd already sort of hit the 3-point jump shot before even thinking. Right. My hope is that we get our platform to the point where children have practiced and have been on it so frequently and had that interaction with our platform so frequently that when they're out in the real world, when they're faced with these financial decisions, they're not thinking. It's just part of who they are. Intuitively, they're able to make those right decisions because they've been doing it so much on our platform, right? And that's what I want. So I think that's where us as external and ed tech providers need to think about how can we build habits and behaviors consistently as possible into students.
Indeed, amazing. Like you said, with the rise of different digital platforms and technology, you envision education becoming more integrated with financial literacy in both formal schoolings and, of course, with external programs as well. Like governments nowadays are already shifting towards emphasizing financial literacy, and technology will, of course, play a key role in making this accessible for everybody. And digital platforms allow students to practice and simulate it in the real world financial scenarios. So they'll instinctively make the right choices and they won't have to think about that, like you said, which is again, what you envision. And of course, that's perfectly amazing. So I think the hands-on approach driven by technology is going to ensure students not just learning, but then they'll be applying sound financial habits in their daily lives, like a pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much. And to end the discussion today, we'd love to know where we can find you online and what message would like to give to the audience that's listening to us right now.
You can find more about Squirrel at www.squirreledu.co. So that's .co, not .com. And please do. I mean, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, look, the message that I would give any listeners is to always, to always feel like you can be in control of your own personal destiny and your personal finance. I think that what I want for as many children going forward is that sort of understanding that the end goal needs to be financial independence. Financial independence, not necessarily just being rich for the sake of being rich, but being financially independent so that you can live life on your own terms, do things that you, or spend the time doing the things that you want to do with the people that you want, not feeling tied to a paycheck or having to work for a boss that you don't like, right? Getting to financial independence has got to be the goal for us all, right? To get to that point where you've got freedom to live life on your own terms. And the sooner I can, or the sooner you jump on that bus and the sooner you start to understand what financial independence is and make a plan to get there, the quicker you can get there, and the more achievable that comes. If you're young and you're listening to this and you then want to, like, if you decide to just go, do you know what, it's something that I don't need to worry about for the next 20, 30 years, and then you're going to make things a lot more difficult for yourself. If you decide to take action from a young age, when you start getting paid in your first few jobs, you're going to make things so much easier for yourself. So that would be my biggest message, is to take control of your own financial destiny and have financial independence as has got to be your goal for your future.
Thank you. And I think listening to you today has reminded me of this fact that empowering the next generation with financial literacy through technology ensures not only that they live, learn to live, but also live while having smart financial habits, preparing them for a future of more informed pro decisions.
Absolutely.
Right. Amazing. Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing those lovely thoughts with us. And thank you so much for your time.
No, pleasure having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining and listening to this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one, teach 10. Have a nice day.